Good morning, everyone. Gary Ryan here with another Fed League Flash. And this isn't so much a flash as it is kind of a rewind. Um, I realized yesterday, um, going along, doing everything as far as what's going on, what's currently up. And I thought, there's a lot of new fans that are coming in, especially with Baton Rouge and with the Who's. It's I gotta say it while I can. Uh, anyway, they're coming in and they're not as familiar with uh, the players in the league and whatnot as a lot of us are. And so I wanted to kind of take a step back and kind of highlight a few of the, I guess you could say, the stars of the league. We don't have Connor McDavid and Sidney Crosby and Connor Bedard and all these other players, but there are a lot of good, talented players that are in the league. Some of them have been around longer than other. Talking to you, Joe Pace. but anyway, I wanted to kind of give a little bit of an intro to new fans as far as um, some of the faces and people to watch this upcoming year. And for the rest of us, we can kind of take a step back and really appreciate uh, what these people have accomplished in their careers. So, just kind of to go through some of the leaders in each category. As far as career points go, now Tyler Jurich and Molevac, I have put in red because um, their status is as far as players are kind of up in the air. Now, Tyler Jurich is a head coach for the Elmira River Sharks this next year. He's not planning on playing, but you never know. Something might come up. God forbid injuries strike and you're a little bit shorthanded. Tyler could be pressed in the service. So, which is not a bad thing, especially seeing as now, as far as active players, he's on top of the uh, points board. Now, the all-time leader in points in FPHL history is Ahmed Mahfouz, who has 885 points in his career. And you're thinking, oh well, the league doesn't have 1,000 point player. Well, no. Keep in mind that most of these players that play in the FPHL, they don't play as long as NHL players, and you don't have 80 games a season either. A typical FPHL season is anywhere from like 56 to 58 games. So you have less opportunities to accumulate your stats. But nonetheless, considering that, Tyler Jurich has put up 583 points in his career, which is second all time on the list, just behind Mahfouz. Now, I put a little dot next to Dalton Jay from the Port Huron Prowlers because he's got a chance at joining the 500-point club as well this upcoming year. 29 points away for Dalton Jay. That is very reasonable. I wouldn't say easy to obtain, but, well, yeah, probably. So, Dalton Jay is someone to watch. Also, okay, again, I mentioned Molevac. Not really sure if he's going to be playing again this year. He's been in the league since near the beginning. 420 points in his career. And gee, I skipped over Matt Graham, who is also from the Port Huron Prowlers. He is the player slash coach slash GM, the man of many hats. Matt Graham has been around for quite a while, 426 points. He's got an outside chance of hitting the 500-point club as well. And then we have Kyle Powell, who I put in blue because he's a defensive man. Kyle Powell is on the list as far as active players for top 5 in points. And that's incredible. He's kind of like the Ray Bork of the FPHL at this point. Um, Planning on playing this next year for the Baton Rouge Zydeco. So, yeah, he's going to be, you know, I think he's going to be the Zydeco's big star this year. He's won the FPHL Defenseman of the Year award 4 times. Very talented player. So you got quite a group of players who have amassed quite a few points. And just looking at goals. Okay, Tyler Jurich just last year passed Ahmed Mahfouz. Mahfouz was the all-time leading goal scorer at 295. By the end of the year, Jurich stood at 299. And so, yeah, I've got to say, I'm hoping that I'm not hoping for injuries and whatnot for Elmira, but I'm hoping that Jurich does dress for a game or two and become the first player to score 300 goals, to reach that 300 plateau. That would just be magical. So I know his duties are specifically head coach, but yeah, you can only hope and pray. So Tyler Jurich, yeah, leading the league in goals all time. And then Dalton Jay, we mentioned from the Port Huron Prowlers, stands at 225. I don't know how much longer Jay will be planning on playing. I think he's got a couple of good years left in him. He's still performing at a very high level. So he's definitely somebody to watch. Then you have his teammate, Matt Graham, who stands at 131 in goals on the active list. And so now there's only 4 players that have ever broken 200. There's another player in between Dalton Jay and Matt Graham on the list. His name is Justin Browson. Pretty sure he has retired. He stands at 203 goals. So yeah, that's quite an accomplishment. Anyway, going back to our current list, Molivac stands at 130. And then, yeah, this is a funny looking name. It's pronounced Austin Doe. It's pronounced Doe, Daae. He's with the Columbus River Dragons, and he has amassed 120 goals over his career. And then right below them is from the Danbury Hat-Tricks, the champion Danbury Hat-Tricks, is Johnny Ruiz at 119. And he is still playing at an extremely, extremely high level. So I look at him potentially getting up, third, fourth place by the end of the year. All right, with assists, again, Ahmed Mahfouz, he's up to Wayne Gretzky of the Fed, 590 assists. More assists than anybody else has in points. Tyler Jurich is number 2 at 583. So, yeah, Mahfouz has more assists than anybody else has points. That's just amazing. Anyway, so currently our active leader is Matt Graham at 295. And so he could become the only the second player in Fed history to cross 300 in assists. Same if he returns with Molivac, 290. Kyle Powell, again, a defenseman, 289. 11 points is a very reachable goal for Powell this next year. Tyler Jurich stands at 284, and then Dalton Jay at 246. So far we've seen kind of the same few names. We get to our games played all time, and that honor goes to Mississippi Seawolves player / coach / GM / promoter / grocery bagger, Joe Pace. Joe Pace has been a fixture in the FPHL for quite a long time. If you're playing against him, you don't like him. If he's playing for your team, you love him. Joe Pace is quite the showman. A few people have called him the P.T. Barnum of minor league hockey, as far as promotions and doing stuff like that. So he stands at 502 games played. That is tops all time. Ahmed Mahfouz, 437. The next active player is Dustin Henning, who is going to be playing this next year for the Watertown Wolves. He stands at 374. And Mo Levac comes in at 347. Penalty minutes. We go back to Joe Pace. Yep, 1716 in penalty minutes in his career. I don't remember what I was saying about you don't want to play against him. But heck of a guy. Heck of a guy off the ice. Okay, Edgars Ozolins, who plays for the Columbus River Dragons, he is at 1100. And I don't know why I didn't have this written down on my sheet. And then Alex Basie, he was playing the last few years with the Delaware Thunder, who are dormant. So Basie was picked up by the Columbus River Dragons. So the River Dragons going to have two tough guys, Ozolinsh and then Alex Basie. Alex Basie comes in at 758 in penalty minutes. Now we get to goalies. Again, in this level of pro hockey, you're not around a real long time. Typically, most players who play in the Fed, either they jump to the higher leagues or they're only around 4 or 5 years the most. So, again, that's another reason why you don't see huge numbers. Now, with wins or goalies, the all-time record goes to Nick Neidert, who is currently coaching in the SPHL. He has 65 total wins. That's the gold standard for goaltenders. And you have a couple of goaltenders that can pass that this year, provided that everything goes right and they have a great season. Chris Paulin, playing for the Port Huron Prowlers, he is currently the active leader at 51 wins. You have Christian Pavlas, who is playing this next year for the Baton Rouge Zydeco. He's at 46 wins. And then we have Brian Wilson. He's only played 2 years with Danbury Hat-Tricks and has amassed 42 wins in those 2 years. So he's on a fast track up. And then we have Braden Colgan from the Columbus River Dragons with 36 wins. So a lot of these numbers are going to be climbing pretty substantially. But Chris Paulin especially really has an opportunity of becoming the all-time wins leader in Fed history this next year. Goals against, I put an asterisk because it was very hard to find all-time stats with goals against for goalies in the FPHL. The best season by a player was Christian Pavlas a few years ago in the 2018 to 19 season. Amazing season. Had a 1.77 goals against average in 36 games. Just incredible. Last year, your leaders were Brendan Colgan with a 2.25, Brian Wilson, a 268, and then you had Mario Cavalier, plays for the Carolina Thunderbirds. He is at 295 last year. Save percentage last year, your leaders were Brendan Colgan, 925. He also had 7 shutouts last year, which is an all-time Fed record. Brian Wilson with the Hat-Tricks, 913. Mario Cavalier, 913. We had Boris Babic, who is playing this next year for the Zydeco. And I misspoke before. I just realized Christian Pavlas is not playing for the Zydeco. He's playing for the Wytheville hockey team this next year, the team in Virginia. So sorry about that. Okay, finally, Taylor Joseph, who came in mid-season to play for the Binghamton Black Bears, he posted a 910. So these are some players that you can kind of watch and latch onto and cheer on. Hope this helps you. Make sure to hit like and subscribe for this video, and make sure to keep in tune here on the Fed League Flash on Spotify, on YouTube, and on Facebook. I'm Gary Ryan. Thanks for watching.